It's a pleasure to have Professor Satinder Dhiman from the Woodbury University, Burbank, California to India. Hearty welcome to you, Professor Saab. What a pleasure to have you in India.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a rare combination in life that somebody is educated in India and thereafter he becomes a teacher also in India. And thereafter he moves to United States and he first becomes the student and then he becomes the teacher. He authors a couple of books over here, and after reaching over there, doing a lot of research, and of course, he pens down a number of volumes and the books over there as well. What a pleasure, Professor Saab, to have you over here, because you have a combination and experience and expertise of both the continents. Of course, besides that, wherever world over you have traveled, you hold such a enormous experience of different destinations. We were talking in our previous episodes about Indian education system. We were talking about how the Indian epics and Indian mythology and Indian stories, all that fit into, and how do we make our education system more with the roots. That's what you were mentioning. Today I wish to take on with you, because the audience which we have over here, some of them, they have joined us now. They are very keen to know, how do we empower our educators and our teachers in India? The teacher empowerment system is very important, because a person is happy and passionate and willing to give the best shot. I think the students and the humanity and the civilization will have the best of the progenitor
from that. Yes.
Yeah. So, what are your views on to educators or so-called teachers empowerment?
Sure. The topic of empowerment, everybody talks about empowerment. You know, there is a worker empowerment, employee empowerment, teacher empowerment. But what does it mean to be empowered? I believe that the only power that is worth seeking is power through knowledge. So when we say teacher empowerment, we are going to empower, or better yet, enable teacher through knowledge. Not information, but through knowledge. Information is important, but it has its own limitations. So whenever we speak about teacher empowerment, we are going to focus on what can we help teachers with, very specialized knowledge, so that they feel empowered, they feel the power of knowledge. But knowledge is also very limited. You might have heard the expression that knowledge is power, right? All of you have heard the expression, knowledge is power.
Very generally it's mentioned that
Right.
knowledge is power.
But there is another expression, equally important, called power corrupts. There was a judge by the name of Lord Acton who said power corrupts. So if you put two and two together, knowledge is power, power corrupts. What do you get? Knowledge corrupts. I mean, if you put them if A plus B, you put them together, this is what you get. If knowledge is power and power corrupts, that means, literally speaking, knowledge will also corrupt. What it means is, knowledge alone is not enough. You have to have wisdom. Now the question arises, what is wisdom? What is it that the wisdom has, knowledge does not have? Wisdom is the ability to see things from all perspectives, from all angles. If you are able to see a particular problem from technological, social, cultural, economic, every angle, then you are able to see it holistically. So the word wisdom, which comes from the word, there is a word in Greek language called Sophia. Sophia, and that combines, that's how you get philosophy. Philosophy is philo plus Sophia. Philo means love of, Sophia means wisdom. So love of wisdom is philosophy. And that's why it is important to understand that knowledge has limitations. You know, knowledge can empower you, it can tell you how to understand a particular subject, but the ability to see meaning, the ability to what Steve Jobs calls connect the dots. You are able to connect the dots if you have certain wisdom. Wisdom requires that you have a perspective, that you can step back. We were talking about taking the correct standpoint. Wisdom assumes that you will take the correct standpoint. If you are a scientist, you take this standpoint of a correct. It is called Drishti. In our Shastras, in our scriptures, there are two types of Drishtis which are described. One is called Log Drishti, common person's Drishti. Then there is another Drishti called Shastra Drishti, Lok Drishti and Paramarthik Drishti. So if you want to be a physicist, you have to acquire the vision of a physicist. So that Drishti will be different, specialized. For example, a physicist will look at this table and say, this table is nothing but some form of energy. While we do not see that energy, meaning I as an ordinary person, common person, has a different drishti, vision about this table. But if a physicist looks at in the lab, under very specialized microscopes and whatever, he or she will be able to see that this is nothing but some electrons spinning at the speed of light, which gives the semblance of a solid material. It is not solid as it looks. So that means the common drishti, loka drishti, is different from specialist drishti of a physicist, which is called the shastra drishti. So you have to acquire that if you want to. So if teachers want to be empowered, they have to understand this mechanics, that information is not enough. As we said yesterday, data means some kind of information. For example, if I say 1 o'clock, that is a piece of data. If you get your lunch at 1 o'clock, then it becomes information. So what is information? Meaningful data. What is knowledge? Meaningful information. What is intelligence? Meaningful knowledge. What is wisdom? Meaningful intelligence. So wisdom is a form of intelligence. That is what we should all aspire for when we want to empower our teachers. It is not a question of giving them some workshops. It's not a question of giving them information. They should also be able to put 2 and 2 together. They should be able to make that information their own. They should be able to see it. My teacher used to say, the teacher has to have a fire in the heart. You have to have fire in your heart in order to be able to benefit from what we are discussing here. So, information is good, knowledge has its value, but understand when we say empowerment through knowledge, we are not talking about just knowledge, we're talking about wisdom, which is the ability to see things holistically. When you are able to look at things from all angles. If you look at it in our human relations, most problems come because everybody is looking at it from their own angle and they fight. And each person wants to justify their own angle. People negotiate. But the whole idea is when you are able to see the problem from different perspectives, from the perspective of, for example, demonetization is a big topic in India now, and it has its own virtues, we all agree to that. But if you look at it purely from the economic policy point of view, then it has a limited value. But look at it as a long-term thing. One of the most difficult problems in all societies is the gap between haves and have-nots. People who have more money, people who have less money, and the gap, which is called chasm, it keeps on increasing. So demonetization, for example, can help to, in the long run, bridge that gap. It is one of the best examples of somebody looking at the welfare of a common person in the street. A common person in the street will have access to certain things which the person did not have because of the other system that we used to have. So here, information and knowledge, when you look at long term, it has different views, right? Similarly, there are certain things you want to do in the short term, but in the long term, they are not good. So this vision of shifting from short-termism to long-termism is what is required to help our teachers empower. Because if we focus only, this is what happened with the financial industry. They were focusing on short-term, quarterly earnings, yearly earning, but over the long term, they were shortchanging the stakeholders.
Three beautiful words you have used, and rather I would say, you have drawn the inferences, knowledge, information, and wisdom. Wonderfully clubbed. Now, let's take an example. Some of the people have come to education profession as educators willingly, knowingly, consciously. But some of them, they have come circumstantially because they were looking forward to some kind of a job, they wanted to take it up somewhere. And they thought, okay, fine, this is also one of the profession. But this being the most sensitive, where you are shaping a human being, you are shaping a person, you are shaping somebody's life. So such people, how they should be made more passionate toward their profession?
This is a fundamental problem in all professions. You have people in the business who should be in the military. You have people in the military who should be in education. So these misfits are everywhere. But teaching is something very special. Here, the cost of a misfit person is very high. If you are a bad employee in a bank, the damage that you will do is very limited. But if you are not a good teacher, then you are playing with future generations. Therefore, in my biased opinion, since every opinion is biased, my opinion is also biased, only those people should come to teaching who are dedicated to the temple of learning. Because learning is a temple, and who are dedicated to furthering the knowledge base, only those people should come to. Teaching is not a profession. Teaching is a calling.
Is it a devotion?
It's a calling, yes, it's a devotion.
Okay.
It is an offering. You are doing your offering to the universe. So only those people should come to teaching who are convinced that this is what they want to do with their life, and accordingly they should prepare for that. Why? Because not only a person who is a misfit in teaching will be damaging the futures of the student, it will not be good for that person also. Because for your own satisfaction, you have to be good. There was a Lebanese poet I talked about in some other context, Khalil Gibran. He says that if you do not love what you do, then you should better be sitting at the outside temple and begging alms for your living, because that may be even more worthwhile. So the very first requirement of teaching is that you should, if you have come to this profession, check your motivation. Remember, we asked yesterday for you to prepare personal mission statement, SWOT analysis, right? Be honest with you. Teaching, like anything else, is not for everybody, right? Everybody cannot be an engineer. I cannot be an engineer. I don't even know how to change the bulb, right? So that doesn't mean that, I should try to learn everything in my life. Life is short. So take a good inventory of your plus points, what your passion is, what your vision is, what your values are. Try to connect your passion with your purpose, your values with your vision. It's a very interesting statement. So if you're able to do that, something inside will tell you that teaching is not best for you, or will tell you teaching is best for you. If you make that decision, then the next step will be, how can I become the best teacher I can? Then some steps can be shared, help can be given. But as we talked the other day, nobody can help a person's attitude. There is no workshop which can change a person's attitude. That is something you have to work on, everybody has to work on. That's why Southwest has that philosophy. We hire for attitude, we train for skills. Empowerment can be done if somebody is already motivated to be a teacher. Empowerment, you can take a horse to the river, but you can't make the horse drink water. The horse cannot be motivated to drink the water. Similarly, a person can be here from 9 to 5 as a teacher and take some classes, give some lectures, but if his or her heart is not there, you are short-changing future generation. So take a good stock at yourself, look at yourself, be honest, and also do a service to yourself, do a favor to yourself. If teaching is for you, then you jump into it head on. Devote yourself, body and soul and mind to it. If it is not for you, then you should find out what you are cut out to do best, then you should do that. That will be good for the institution, it will be good for you, it will be good for the audience that you are addressing.
Wonderful.
So empowerment cannot happen without passion inside.
Before we open the question to the audience, can you give some fine tips, maybe 2 or 3 mool mantras or something? How do we empower Indian teachers, so that they are passionate, and when you said that they are shaping the life, they are shaping the civilization, they are shaping tomorrow. So maybe some fine tips, because last 4 decades you have been deeply associated with the human resource development, education system.
I have been very fortunate that I have been a student myself for the last 40 years. In my heart, I do not look at myself as a teacher, because ultimately we are all students. Last day we used the word seeker. We are all seekers after truth. Whatever your subject is, finance, accounting, management, leadership, HR, whatever, we are all seekers of truth in that particular subject area. I will share 2 very simple systems or methodologies which all of you can use, all of us can use, which has benefited me in my life also. The very first thing you have to understand is that you have to love what you do. If you, Steve Jobs also, and many other people have said the same thing, that if you do not love what you do, it will show. Your students will know that, they will know that you are just going through the motions. Many people are going through the motions. They are doing same thing over and over. And you tell them to change, they start doing more of the same. That's the change that they do in their life. that is not going to help. So find out, now how do you know that what you love? That's a very good question. How do I know that I love something? The answer is very simple. Ask yourself, if your economic needs are taken care of, let's say that you win lotto, you win lottery, you win 10 crore ki aapki lottery nikal gayi. Then you ask yourself, now my economic needs 10 crore काफी हैं और बढ़ा देते हैं 15 crore चलो आपके लिए 15 crore कर देते हैं. मान लीजिए you won 15 crores a lottery. Then you ask yourself, what is that work, that job I still want to do when my economic needs are taken care of? That is the work you should be doing every day. Nothing less than that. Because anything less than that is not living, it is waiting, it is rehearsal. Many people are doing full dress rehearsal in their life. They never live. Only those people live who love what they do. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I see how much passion is there in this, the technical team, the people who are filming this particular session. They really love what they're doing. You can tell that, right? It doesn't have to be that you have to be a teacher. You can be anybody. But it is the mindset which is important. आप किस भाव से करते हैं? So try to bring this aho bhav. That bhav has to be there. The bhava has to be there. That is the first thing. Love what you do. Second, and the most important thing, even more important than the first is, which many people overlook, which is going to be a new thing for many people here, it is learn to love what you have to do. For example, you love teaching, no problem. Then you also have to do research. You may not like that, right? So learn to like what you have to do in addition to what you love to do. Then you have the recipe of success. Why? Because that's the way it is. If we only do what we like to do, most people will not get out of bed in the morning. Because who wants to get out of bed at night? Right? So love what you do, learn to love what you have to be. The second have to part is more important.
Wonderful saying. Let's have some questions. Yeah.
Sir, your points are very well taken. So one thing I would like to ask you is, what according to you can be the 3 best things in a perfect teacher or in a good teacher who is managing each and everything very well? So what according to you, what is your art of thinking that yes, she or he is a very good teacher? What can be the 3 best things in him or her according
Give
to
your
you?
name.
So my name is Neha.
Name of you. Teaching, to become a teacher, teaching है यज्ञ करना. आप यज्ञ कर रहे हैं, आप अपने knowledge की आहुति दे रहे हैं classroom में. So it's very pious, very noble, very pious feeling. This challenge necessitates. So you said 3 things, right? What if I give 4? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Like a
I'll
friendly
take it
amendment
from
to
you,
that.
sir.
Okay. Or maybe 2. I don't know. Let's see how it
Please.
unfolds. The very first thing, Sharmaji, which is required in a teacher is the teacher should first of all be a student, a good learner. That person should himself or herself have burning passion, desire. This is what's called mumukshatam. That person should be jigyasu. The person should be seeker after truth. Very first requirement.
Desire to learn.
Desire, not desire, burning desire.
Burning desire.
I mean, it is something like your hand is, you might have seen in the villages, they make ganne ka ras, sugar cane. वो जो machine होती है, if somebody's hand gets stuck in that, it's a very bad feeling, right? The person would like to get it out quickly. That kind of intensity should be there when you want to read a new book, because you should be, internally you should be craving. The word is craving. You should crave for knowledge, like some people crave for some things to eat, right? ये craving आपके अंदर होनी चाहिए. As a first requirement of a teacher is to become a perfect student. Perfect student, ज्ञान का संपादन कीजिए आप. Because there is so much to know, there is so much to learn. This is an ocean, as Newton says. Somebody said that Newton is great, so he heard that. So he said that I find myself as a little boy playing on the shore of the ocean, on the seashore, while the ocean of the knowledge is flowing by me, and I put my hand into it, I find almost nothing, because it's too much to know, right? So with this particular thing that you have the passion, because there's so much to know, it is not one of the mistakes that we make is, my subject is accounting, I'm only going to study accounting. That's not the case. You see, when you go in a business and you have a problem, let's say that you are a CEO of a company, and there is a problem that you have to solve and challenge you have to meet. And the problem includes accounting aspect also, financial aspect also, technical aspect also, and marketing aspect also. However, your major was marketing. Your focus was marketing. You cannot say, oh, because I'm a marketing person, I cannot handle the whole thing. There you have to handle the whole thing, right? So the second, after the passion about teaching, the second requirement is, you should prepare yourself widely. You should cast your net widely, meaning not just your subject, you have to know too many other things. Yes, you have to know literature, you have to know philosophy, you have to know psychology, you have to know cognitive sciences, you have to know what physics is teaching. Just you should kind of get into the habit of learning, get into the habit of reading. Reading is very important. So in order to embellish upon what you know, become a good student, read widely, become members of library. These days everything is available online. Read as a matter of habit. Read 3 to 5 hours every day. Just like you do, people go to gym, they become very religious about it. Similarly, you should have time set aside for reading. And when you are reading, it should be exclusive time for reading. ये नहीं है कि you are reading and you are watching your favorite show at the same time, right? This multitasking is not allowed, right? You should be just focused on reading because it is very important. Take some notes while you're reading. Revise those notes every now and then so it's part of you. So the first thing is passion. The second thing is you prepare yourself widely. The third thing, which if I stress myself to look at third thing, it will be quickly, you should also have a very deeply caring attitude. The most important requirement of a teacher is that the teacher cares about students' learning. You should be passionate about their lives. You should look into, with my experience now, with God's grace, I can almost spend 15 minutes with a person and tell whether that person is a PhD material or not. I have done that with many students of mine. As I said that in our university, almost 30% faculty member are my students in some form or the other. They have taken classes with me or in the PhD, help with them with their thesis. So these three qualities, that you are passionate about what you do, you are willing to prepare yourself widely, not just your subject matter, and at the same time you have this caring concern for the well-being of your students, then your students will love you. They will always appreciate you. After 30, 40 years, they will always remember you. Those are the three things. Other things can also be thought, but time is the issue, so we would like to move on.
Thank you very much, Professor Sam. It's such a wonderful, because this subject is very, very sensitive when you talk about teachers' empowerment, and particularly sometimes you find the people, those willingly have not come to this profession, but circumstantially they have come to. So,
but it
I
is,
think,
if I may interject there, even if you have come to this profession not unwillingly, circumstantially, still there is a saving grace. There is a possibility that somehow, while you are here, you did not come here because you wanted to be a teacher, but somehow circumstances made you aware of the importance of your role as a teacher. Then you become serious. So it's change हो सकता है. ऐसा नहीं है कि you are born as a teacher. I don't believe in that theory. Because if you go by that theory, then most of the people should not be here. Most of the people should not be a teacher. The idea is teachers are born as well as they are made. They are made in workshops like these. They are made by self-study. They are made by their self-effort. So even if you think that, initially when I came, I was not very serious, but now I realize the importance of being a teacher. I take it very seriously. So whenever you wake up, it's morning. So do not get disheartened by my saying that, if you came to this profession but you are not motivated, that is fine, that is behind you. But now you are here, you move from here, as the next step should be towards being a teacher, good teacher.
thank you very much. So those of us, those are enjoying this particular episode, wherever you are, This particular episode was one of the most key factors and the most important, when you talk about teachers' empowerment. And I'm pretty sure that after viewing this particular episode, each one of us, those are in teaching profession, we will be more passionate, we will be more energetic, we will put in more efforts to know our subject better, and at the same time, we would empower every youth we will come across. Thank you very much, Professor Saab.
My
It was
privilege.
such a pleasure to have you in India,
My honor,
particularly
sir.
during this trip, and to have your views. I'm sure that we'll take on the next episode later. Thank you.
Thank you.